Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. Parts of Ukraine are again under attack by Russian drones. There are reports on social media of explosions in Kiev, Kharkiv and Zaporizhzhia. The mayor of Kharkiv said residential buildings were on fire after the second attack on the city in 24 hours. Moscow has been retaliating against Ukrainian strikes on the Russian border city of Belgorod. Earlier, at a UN Security Council meeting, Albania's representative, Andris Tastoli, said Russia was suffering the consequences of its own actions.
The core issue has been, is and remains that Russia wanted this war, planned for it, executed it, by all accounts is the sole responsible for the consequences that this war is causing. Had there been no aggression, there would be no victims, no crimes, no destructions, no such ridiculous efforts to convince the world that Ukraine started the war.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned that his country's offensive in Gaza will last many months. He again pledged to eliminate Hamas and bring all hostages home. More details from Will Leonardo.
In a televised press conference, Benjamin Netanyahu sought to portray defiance in the face of persistent criticism at home and growing international concern over the civilian toll of Israel's offensive in Gaza. He stressed that he wouldn't resign and would see out Israel's objectives to destroy Hamas. Among the vows, a promise to establish full Israeli control of Gaza's border with Egypt, comments which suggest plans for a permanent Israeli military presence. There was little sense of an imminent second ceasefire for hostages deal. Conditions in Gaza remain dire, with 22,000 Palestinians killed so far, according to the Hamas-run health ministry.
The British-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says Israeli airstrikes on eastern Syria on Saturday killed 23 Iranian-backed militants. An 8-truck convoy and buildings were said to have been hit in Abu Kamal on the border with Iraq. The War Monitoring Group also said Israeli missiles targeted warehouses and bases of pro-Iranian groups near the northern city of Aleppo, killing 4. The authorities in Nicaragua have arrested 7 Roman Catholic priests critical of President Daniel Ortega. Several other members of the local clergy, including a bishop, have been detained over the past week. Here's Leonardo Rocha.
Among those arrested overnight is Monsignor Silvio Fonseca, a high-profile critic of Mr. Ortega, the former Marxist rebel who's been in power for 16 years. Relations between Mr. Ortega's government and the Catholic Church have deteriorated since Nicaragua was swept by mass street protests in 2018. The Church and human rights organizations criticized the government's response to the unrest, in which more than 300 people died. Mr. Ortega says Nicaraguan priests are part of a right-wing plot led by the United States to undermine his government.
BBC News. One of India's top female wrestlers, Vinesh Phogat, has returned 2 sports awards given to her by the government to highlight sexual harassment of female athletes. She left the prestigious awards on a roadside curb after she was refused permission to meet the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. She and several wrestlers accused the former president of the Indian Wrestling Federation, Brij Bhushan Singh, of sexual harassment. He denies the allegations. North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un says his country faces unprecedented pressure from the United States and has no option but to press on with its nuclear ambitions. Setting out policies for the coming year, Mr. Kim said North Korea would also forge closer ties with other countries opposed to Washington, a likely reference to stronger relations with Russia. Mr. Kim also ruled out any possibility of reunification on the Korean peninsula. Spanish emergency services have rescued dozens of migrants stranded at sea, attempting to reach the Canary Islands off the northwest coast of Africa. The Red Cross helped disembark nearly 60 men as they came ashore at Gran Canaria. A smaller group was rescued from an overcrowded boat at sea that was said to have 3 dead migrants on board. The high-speed rail connection from London to the European continent is set to resume services on Sunday, after tens of thousands of passengers were stranded because of flooding in the tunnel under the River Thames. Engineers have raced to fix a burst fire safety water pipe. Eurostar, the company operating trains to European cities, says customers should still expect some delays. These people were left stranded at London St Pancras International Station on Saturday.
I am just devastated. I've just had a little cry. I just want to get home.
It's because I'm desperate to be to Paris. I'm really, really desperate to be with my family.
We could have booked flights today, and I wish we had. So, yeah, I will question whether Eurostar's the best option.
BBC News.